Welcome to our weekly Shepherds broadcast, where we connect UBC flock with those who shepherd them. And so today we are privileged to have our dear sister Cynthia that is going to talk to us a little bit. But before we go into our segment today, how about you introduce yourself?
All right, my name is Cynthia Melly. For those who know me, for those who don't, my dad's David Melly, and he works here at the church. Before the COVID situation, I used to help out with the media and Sunday school on occasion, and that's about it.
So, Cynthia, you were born in Kenya.
Yes.
How old were you when you came to America?
Okay, I was 5 years old when we moved here,
Yeah.
so pretty young.
So, do you remember anything about living in Kenya?
A few things,
Yeah.
like, the stuff that had a big impact,
Yep.
or like something that happened that left a little bit of a memory. Like I remember when I got stung by a bee because that left an impression. I remember when I fell and I ended up getting a scar on my knee because
Yeah.
that left an impression.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I want to ask this. So you came here when you're 5 years old. On a scale of 1 to 10, how American do you feel and how Kenyan do you feel? Like one being, I feel like I'm a real Kenyan, and then American 10, no, I'm a real American. On that scale, where do you feel you're at?
Okay, I'm gonna give myself a 7,
Uh-huh.
just because I live in a Kenyan household. I've hanged out with my parents' friends who are Kenyan and all that. But the majority of my school life is not Kenyan, and
Yeah.
a lot of my friends aren't Kenyan.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at speaking Swahili, so I'm just
Do
gonna.
you speak any?
I understand more than I speak. I can speak like a few things here and there, but my understanding's a bit higher. And then
Yeah.
even then, it's only stuff you use constantly at home. So if you have me watch the news, I'm not gonna get anything. But if you're talking in the kitchen, I can get half or
Yeah.
more.
So do you guys speak English at home or do you speak Swahili?
Me and my brothers speak English. My parents kind of mix around. So they'll speak to me in Swahili. Sometimes they'll switch to Kalenjin, and then I get nothing.
So it's English, Swahili, and then Kalenjin.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
They mix it around. Sometimes my dad will just start speaking to me in Swahili. I'll get that. Switch to Kalenjin. I'll get nothing, and then switch.
I love that because if they want to say something that they don't want you guys to understand, is it the same with all your other siblings?
I'd have to say Swahili, I'm the best, followed by Raymond, and then Justin, and then Kalenjin. We just all strike out.
All right. So what is your earliest memory of being a child in America? Whenever you came here, because you say you don't remember much of coming here, but when you got here, did you come to Texas? Did you go to another state? How was that few months of coming here?
Okay, so I don't remember any of the decision making coming here. I don't remember any of the flight, but I remember getting here because we got here in winter and it was cold. Like I could remember the cold.
Yeah, that's what everybody has been saying. They've been really they didn't like the cold very much.
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm really happy we stuck with Texas just because it is very hot, and then even when it's cold, the weather is so erratic.
So you landed in Texas.
Yes, we came straight to
Okay.
Texas.
So you've never lived anywhere else but Texas.
No,
Okay.
we got here. We lived in an apartment area somewhere around the Dallas area, and then from there we moved to Allen.
Okay. And you've been there for all your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was elementary school?
Ooh, okay. So I had to repeat kindergarten because I did it in Kenya once.
Okay.
And then, but the age that you need to be in kindergarten is different than US, so I did that again. And if I'm being honest, I think I unlearned things because I still have the workbook I had from when I was in Kenya, like my writing and everything. And if I compare that to some of the writing samples I have from kindergarten in the US, my writing got worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which wasn't good. And I don't know if it wasn't like anybody's fault. What happened was I think the teacher was retiring, and because of that, they weren't there around a lot. So I ended up with a lot of substitutes. So I didn't actually learn a lot in kindergarten. So I was starting at a little bit behind when I got to first grade. In fact, even now I have to sing that song to get the months of the year because I never learned that until I was a lot older.
Really?
So that's like ingrained in everybody else, and me, it's like, okay, I learned that a lot later. because that's just one of those things that slipped by. But it wasn't until first grade that I got a teacher who was pretty tough on me,
Yeah.
and I managed to catch up.
Yeah, well, that's. So did you speak English or Swahili when you came here?
I've been told I could speak Swahili when I was in Kenya. So that's why I can still understand quite a bit, but I stopped speaking when we got here.
So did you guys speak English before you came to America? So English wasn't strange to you?
Yeah, I don't think English was strange.
Ah,
I would
okay.
have had a lot harder time if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, there are people that, can you imagine people that come here and they can't speak the language?
Yeah, that's real tough.
And they have to go to an American school, speak to American kids and American teachers. And learning anything in another language is not easy.
Oh yeah, no, they put me in
Yeah.
a special course and I could speak English, let alone if you
Yeah,
can.
yeah. All right, so have you had an opportunity to go back to Kenya?
Yes, twice, actually.
Okay.
The first one was when I was, I think, around elementary school. It's a bit in the past, so it's a bit vague. And then the second time was around middle school or high school.
Yeah. So what's your memories about Kenya?
For the first one, we didn't do too much. We went to Nairobi for a little bit, and then from there we went to Eldoret so we could see family, talk to
Yeah.
people and all that. And my memories were really just being around the farm, going around, having fun, and then of course the homework that they gave me. 'Cause we left during school,
Yeah.
so they gave me a stack of homework and then a stack of extra homework for leaving the country.
And then you told me that you had to write a journal
Yes.
every day.
One of the assignments that I got extra because I made the choice to leave the country was my teacher gave me a notebook and said that every day I had to fill an entire page about what I did that day. It wasn't that bad in the later entries, but the first few entries, I was at an airport all day. I
Yeah.
had to put a lot of filler
Yeah,
words.
what do you say? Yeah, I was sitting here staring at a wall
Yeah, it
all
got
day.
real descriptive. The walls were colored this, the chairs were colored this, the lady sitting next to me was doing.
Yeah. So how is it? So you live in a Kenyan household.
Yes.
So you still live with your parents.
Yeah.
So you live in a culture where 16, 17, 18 people move out.
Yes.
How are you balancing? Because I'm a Kenyan parent, and I told my kids, you're going to live with me until you die. And we are very new here. So how is it balancing seeing your friends leaving home and going to live on their own? Have you tried it? Have you talked about it? Is that something that even is on a discussion on the table?
I did think about it, especially after graduating from high school. I thought about living in the dorms during at least my first year. But then, financially speaking, that would have been a terrible idea.
Yep.
And I went to a nearby school. I go to UTD over in Richardson. Well, yeah, just around here, just around the corner. So I just drive. Before COVID, I would drive to and from. And as for friends, some of my friends did leave, some of my friends didn't, because everyone had their own circumstances.
Yeah. So are most of your friends Kenyan, or are they American, or are they like you, 7 over 10?
My friends are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Like I have a very hard time communicating with people if it's not in person, because I'm terrible at communicating online, and I really do need to work on, especially.
There's nothing
now.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
God did not make us to communicate online.
Yeah. Oh, I give a disclaimer every time I give somebody my number.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna answer. But yeah, so a lot of my friends are people who I could see often, so they're
Yeah.
from school. I'd say we're pretty mixed. It's not like one race, but it's like a one-off of each race.
Yeah. Well, so you try to diversify your portfolio of
Yes.
friends.
Yeah, we had like a small group of very diverse people.
Yeah. So now let's go back to the issue of living at home. When you tell people that, do they find it strange here?
Not as much. I think
Yeah.
nowadays a lot more people are staying home a lot longer
Yeah.
for financial reasons or
Yes.
any other reason that might be happening.
Yeah.
And commuters, people who commute from college to home, it's more common. And it's honestly a good decision as long as you're not doing it as a crutch. If you're doing it for a legitimate reason, like you're working your way to move
Yeah.
out, then I think it's
So explain to me a situation where somebody would use it as a crutch.
I mean, it's very easy just to rely on your parents, especially when you're at home for everything that you need. But if you make an active point of when you need something, you get it for yourself. Like I pay for anything I need for school on my own. I just live at home to save the cost of expensive living out. But
Yeah, that's good. I hope my daughter is listening. She's 13, so she's not really near leaving home or going to college because she's only in seventh grade. But I love the way you think, and I love the way because I think when you do that, because the pressure to move out might be really high because of what everyone else is doing it.
oh yeah.
And in Kenya, it's very normal for people to live, like especially girls, to stay, or even boys actually, to live with their parents until they get married. So when you get married, your husband literally comes to get you from the house. And that's why most people don't even, girls will not even think about paying for an apartment because they're going to go live with their husbands, you know. So, which I'm sure in America, people don't leave their parents' homes, and if they do, it's more symbolical than it is. But so anyway, whenever you think of your life and future, is it here? Is it in Kenya? Is it both? Like, what are your thoughts about Kenya?
Honestly, I would like to visit more often because I have
Okay.
enjoyed the times that I went there.
Yeah.
And like I said, since I have such a hard time communicating online, I would like to see more people in person. So it's not like it's something I would never go back, and I'd actually like to go more often.
Yeah.
Just time hasn't allowed.
Yeah. Well, America is busy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. When I came here for the first time, I felt like I couldn't see anyone. And when you want to see somebody, literally, you have to make an appointment. And I thought, why do I need to make an appointment to see a friend? Well, because the friend is busy. In Kenya, we just show up and you don't say anything. But so when I think about you guys that were born in Kenya, were born here to African parents, what are some of the struggles that you guys have? Because as a young person, I believe that identity is a huge thing. So I've heard people talk about identity crisis and all that. Do you or have you ever struggled with that, or do you know people who struggle with that? And if not, what are the struggles that children of immigrant parents face in America, especially those from Africa?
I'd have to say it's probably largely just the culture, because the culture at home and the culture outside the home is so vastly different that can lead to either embracing one over the other, or if resenting one over the other. In
That's
a
a
way.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I had too much of an issue with that, just largely because of my personality. I tend to be very fine with where I am and what I'm doing. So even if my parents were more strict or they had more requirements for me from other people's parents, I didn't really care because it just seemed
Yeah.
fine to me. Or if all my friends at school were doing one thing, I didn't really care if I didn't have,
Or didn't do it.
yeah, I didn't do it.
So peer pressure wasn't a big thing for you.
Oh,
That is a
honestly,
blessing.
I was that kid. If you don't want to talk to me, fine, I'll be reading in the corner.
By then that's a blessing, because I think peer pressure is the downfall of most young people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you didn't succumb to that, that is really good.
Yeah, I was not social enough for that.
Wow. So are you an introvert? Or you like me? You are an no. I tell people I am an undercover introvert because I look and behave like an extrovert, but I really don't like to be around crowds and people. I love to be on my own. So I'm an undercover introvert.
I'd say I'm largely an introvert, but I can have my extrovert moments. There's
Yep.
times when I want to go out and hang
Yep.
out with people, but for the majority of the time, I'm fine just sitting there with a book or just. I'd have to have somebody outside drag me out.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, with the COVID situation now, I've been needing to go out more
Yeah.
than I used to.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm being a lot more out there just because I can't.
Yes, yes.
But no, for the most part, most people would say that I am an introvert. In fact, people in high school, nowadays I talk more than I did in the past. They'd get surprised when I started.
Yeah. So there's something you said that really captured my attention. The culture in the house and the culture outside. How do you balance living in Kenya but working in America in a sense? You know, and I think that's something that you brought, I didn't even think about it, that the environment that you live in is mostly Kenyan because of your parents, but then when you go out, it's America, and you talked about you can either embrace one and leave the other, or don't, or just hate one and embrace the other. How do you balance that?
I think it has a very large part with when you came here from Kenya. So if you had spent more time in Kenya, you'd probably relate more with the Kenyan culture. If you were born here or were recently here, you'd probably have a more connection to an American culture just because as a child, you spend a lot more time outside the home, at school, with friends than you do at home with your parents because they're working and you're out. So it's not, so you get a lot more influence from the culture that you're around the most. In my case, I feel like I did a decent balance because of the fact that I was a bit of a homebody, so I did spend a lot more time with my family. I didn't tend to go out very often, and if there was a party happening with my parents' friends, I'd be there, so I had a little bit more exposure to that culture.
Yeah.
But then in the end of the day, I still spent the large majority of my time at school with my friends. So I never really went fully into either culture.
Okay.
But you do have a tendency to pick one and go headfirst into the one.
Which did you pick?
I did say 7, didn't I?
Yeah, you did say 7.
Yeah. I feel like I got docked a couple points for the whole Swahili thing.
Yeah.
And a few other things here and there. I don't think I act very overly Kenyan, but I don't but people can tend to tell that I'm not African American either. So I'd like to say that I'm leaning towards American just because of the time I've spent here.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say I'm all the way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are almost done, and we always ask this question at the end of our segments. Do you? So someone is watching us right now. They've either come to America recently with their kids, or they are planning to bring their kids to America, and they're wondering, how do I prepare my children to come and integrate in this culture, or to prosper in this culture, or to be successful in this culture? Because I have had a lot of mental illness with children of immigrants, depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And so how do you prepare your kids? It seems like you're very stable, and you really know what you want, and you seem like you've integrated really well in the culture here. So what would be your advice to the kids or to the parents as they're preparing to come to this country, or those who are already here and are trying to figure out how to be successful here?
I'd have to say to be aware of the influences that are around you, because like I said earlier, when we moved here, we first ended up in the Dallas area, but we moved to the Allen because of the school, and my parents were lucky enough to have somebody tell them that, hey, the environment school-wise isn't great in the Dallas area. And that's not to say that you can't grow up in that area and be okay. It's just if you are, you have to be aware that there's going to be a lot more. There's certain influences that you get, depends on where you are. And being aware of that lets you be more proactive about what you do on the parents' end. And for the kids, honestly, how well you adjust really depends on the person, and I'd have to say the age as well. I was younger, so I did have an easier time adjusting, but even then, I still had a few things here and there that I had a problem with, like what I ate at lunch was different from what everyone else ate at lunch. I started off by packing my lunch, but later on I stopped doing that. But
what did you bring? You said that like 3 times. Now I'm curious to know what you brought to school for lunch.
It was my parents who packed it, so it was like home-cooked meals, but people don't tend to bring those.
Yeah, they just have sandwiches and But
like I said, I didn't care, and it wasn't a big deal for me. But somebody else might, and kids tend to be a bit more sensitive to things like that, about fitting in, about getting involved with other people, and they can find those things an issue that you might not find an issue. So it's like little things like that. Honestly, I'd have to say communications is very important
Yeah,
between the parents and the kids to helping them adjust because it can be difficult, especially when you're older or even when you're younger. If, like
Yeah.
I said, the culture at home is very different from the culture outside.
yeah,
So what you expect at home, I mean, not what you expect at school,
yeah.
and vice versa.
Because I think we are more relational as Africans than Americans tend to be. I think Americans are relational, but we are overly relational. Because I feel like everybody is relational, because that's just how God made us. But I feel like as Africans, it's almost like the oxygen we breathe. We have to be around people. And when something happens, and I'm sure you have seen more people come to your home than a normal American family would.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because I always tell people in Kenya, when you meet a new person, you invite them to a restaurant to check them out if they are worthy to be cooked for in your home. No, 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 no. No, you invite them to a restaurant to see if they are worthy to come to your home. In America, they bring you to their home, and if you're a guest and you're very special, they bring you to their home and they cook for you, and then the relationship begins there. But it's almost like they don't say things like, this is, once you come to my house, the other welcome. You're always welcome here.
Oh.
You know, in Kenya, it's like we only welcome you once, and after that, the door is open. You can come anytime. And most people do actually take that very seriously, and they come. So Cynthia, thank you so much for coming today. This was very, very important, very, very nice. I learned so many things from you, just from your talking, that I'm gonna really use to help my kids, because they are, we've been here they've been in school here maybe 3 years now, so they're very young. So some of the things that you said are gonna really help me to help them. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today to our weekly Shepherds broadcast, where we connect UBC flock with those who shepherd them. And today we had Cynthia here, and she did a wonderful, wonderful job. And so Cynthia, welcome again. I hope this is not the last time you're gonna come, but we're gonna welcome you again when we do other topics. So thank you so much for coming. All right, guys, have a good evening, and God bless you.